Hi everyone, and welcome to part 4 of how to build a photography website using WordPress and Elementor. Now in part 1 we looked at setting up your domain, your web hosting and installing WordPress on there. In part 2 we looked at templates and kits, Elementor kits, and using those. In part 3 I showed you how to use the Elementor theme and set up the Elementor theme, set up your pages, and also how to set up your menus to get yourself started. So here in part 4 we're going to look at using the theme builder to start building the structure of your website, namely the header and the footer that will appear across the whole site. So let's get started, shall we? So to access the theme builder, we go down here on the left, firstly to Elementor, and just under Elementor you've got templates. So on templates you'll see here theme builder. So we click that to go directly to the theme builder section. So here it gives you some options to get started. So most sites want a header and a footer. The single post will allow you to apply a template to your blog posts. Same here with a single page if you want to. Your archives will be categories, things like that. You can create a template for search result pages and 404 pages, various things like that. We're going to start first of all with a header, so we can go straight here and click the plus, or you can come to header here and click the plus. So by default it opens here at the Elementor library section and the block section and takes you straight to header. So you've got a choice here of all of these templates provided by Elementor itself, so you can use one of these, or you can cross this. If you've installed Envato elements, like I said in the previous video, you can also look here, free blocks and headers. So you've got a choice of the Elementor header templates or the Envato templates, or creating one entirely on your own, of course. I usually use the ones here because I quite like them here, but you know, as I say, it's entirely up to you. And the one I typically use is this one here. I kind of like it. So scroll through, pick the one that you like, and then insert template. And it immediately inserts it there, and you're ready to go. And notice up here by default it's automatically inserted your menu, the menu that we created. So any widget you click here, you can click the edit button here or click anywhere within the widget itself, and over here you've got the options on the left. So I can actually choose whichever. Now I've set two menus, I can select which menu I want to appear here. So this footer menu, for example, or the main menu. Obviously I want the main menu to be at the top. Now if you want to change the background color, just simply come up to this section here where it says edit section, click that and it selects the whole block. And then you've got the edit section panel on the left. If you go to style in the middle, here you've got the background, and here you can set the background type. You can make it a gradient, add a video or a slideshow, or just make it classic like this. You can add a background image if you want to. We're not going to do that on this header, but that's useful to know for other sections. And here you can set the color. So you can just simply click here and then move the color palette around to find the color that you want. If we come down here, let's make it, you can make it completely black if you want down in the corner, or a slightly off black. Now let's just say that we want to set this one for now. We can use something called global colors. So if you set this color now, and say you change your mind later, and if you've set this color in the header and in the footer and even on other sections of your site, and you suddenly decide that you change your mind, and you have to go back and set and change each one. So what I'm going to show you now is very, very useful. Once you decide on that color, highlight and copy this color, then come up here to the corner here and come down to site settings. And here in site settings you've got the design system. So all of these settings here will affect the whole of your theme. And here you can set a global color. Now you've got system global colors already, and under here you can add them. So typically what I do is I add an item and I'll call it background 1 or background header, whatever you want to do. Come over here and click, and then come down here and paste that code into the box here and click update. Now we've set a custom global color. If we go back here, you can do the same with fonts. You can set custom fonts that you can apply globally, and there are other sections which again I'll show you in a minute. But let's come back here. Now let's click that, go back here. Now come back again to our section, and this time click the custom button here, come down here and select that. Now that global color has been applied, and if you ever go back and change that color, then it will change the color on every section where you've applied that global color. So it's really useful if you change your mind halfway through and you want to modify those header and footer or background colors anywhere. You can just do it with one click and change it globally. So let's come back here. While you're working, save the draft. Over here in settings, Elementor gives you this title, so you can change that title. I then typically change it to main header. So now we've got the background color set. The colors for all of these are okay, but I'll show you if you decide, if you set a background where the white doesn't work, then you can go and change that. So for your menu, as I said, you click here to select the whole section, and here to select a widget, in this case the navigation menu. So I've shown you here how you can set which menu you want to appear here. You can set the layout, horizontal, vertical if you're going to be in the footer down below, for example, or set the whole thing as a drop down like this if you want, but you're not going to want that on the main desktop. So we set this to horizontal. Here you can set the alignment, so you can have it in the middle, left or the right as default. Now the pointer, here you've set it's automatically set you an overline, and you can see, maybe not so clear, if you ever want to preview what you've done, just come down here to this eyepiece and click preview, and then you can see it as is. So now you can see clearly that when I hover over, there's a pointer and a bar above. If you want to change that, you can change that to an underline, and you've got all these other options if you want to play around with different things like background, for example. You can give it a background when it changes, so you can set that background color. It's up to you. So these are the different options. I'll leave it as an underline, I quite like it like that. And you've got animation options here. We won't go into every little thing. You'll be able to see that whenever you select a widget, come over here, you'll see all the options that are available to you. Now one thing it's important with the menu too is the mobile drop down. So down at the bottom here, you've got this responsive mode option, and if you click that, now your page, your template, your header, whatever you're working on, you can set it individually. So you can set this up according to how it will look on the mobile, on the tablet and on the desktop. So you can do that with all of these, and that's particularly important with the menu. Now you see here it's got breakpoint. That means, as you saw, when we selected the mobile, then we got the mobile type menu, so this hamburger type drop down menu rather than the whole menu. If we turn that off, then we'd have the whole menu there. So on mobiles we don't want that, do we? You'll see here on the tablet it's not available, it's the normal menu. If your menu gets too big for the tablet, you can also choose the breakpoint to be the tablet. So if you know, that's something you can do on an individual basis. In most cases it's set to mobile by default. Of course you can have none as well, which again you don't want to do. Full width option just stretches the drop down to the full width. So if we go to mobile, for example, Here we've got the drop down, it's in full width. Now notice this is blue, we'll look at this in a minute. If I turn this off, now it's just, you can see it's a small. It's not very nice, is it? We don't want that. If you ever have trouble getting to things because this keeps popping up, then you click this little arrow to hide the panel and it puts it into view mode. So here you can see that the drop down looks like this, which again looks ugly. So make sure we turn that one on. Now we've got the full width drop down menu. The toggle button is hamburger or none. Well, there you go. That's the only choice you need to know. Here you've got options for normal, hover and active. So you've got some animation that you can use when you hover, which in most cases on the mobile you don't really hover because your finger, you use your finger unless you've got some kind of Galaxy Note where you've got the pen or something like that. So, but otherwise it's there if you want it. Again, toggle alignment left, right, center. Now you'll notice that it's a little off center here. So again, that's the default of the template. So we just simply go in, click this, come over to advanced, and over here you've got your margins and your padding, and you'll see that it's got 20 to the right here. So if we zero all of that, we put it back into the center. I'll look at the rest of this in a minute. Mainly I want to just talk about the menu right now. Okay, so these are all the options for the menu itself. Then in the middle you've got style, and this is important. Now you notice here the drop down is blue, but that's because our original template color was blue. So whenever you change the color, you want to be careful and go through and check all of the other colors too, so you harmonize them. So text color is white, that's fine. And hover here, again, pointer color is white. Text colors default, which is white, and this is default. Okay, so that's fine. If you want to put a divider between each one, you can turn that on and set the divider type, dotted, dashed if you want, set the width and the height. You want to make it white, so we've got a white divider between them. If you want to, you can set the width of it, various things like that if you want that. Otherwise just turn it off. Now the drop down. The drop down here is the drop down on the main menu, not the drop down on your mobile. So you see over here, this is your mobile drop down, but here this is the drop down for the main menu itself. So as I showed you, you've got your main links up here, and then you've got sublinks, and this is your drop down section. So this is where it's still blue from the template. So again, we can come into the background color and set the background one that we set in our global settings. So we've got that in. Now we can see it's now the black color. That's nice. Go to active, normal. Active is default. If you want to set that a different color, you can do, or just do that to make sure it stays that way. And down here you can set borders, box shadows, various other things. Padding, this is interesting. This again for your drop down. If you set your horizontal padding, you see it makes it thicker. And vertical padding, so if you've got several items in your drop down here, then you can separate them out by using the vertical padding. Again, it's set to a default, so it's usually quite good, but if you don't like the default, then go in there and customize it yourself. Again, up to the main menu, we've got the same options here. We got the pointer width. See, that's made that pointer, that line down below, much thicker. You've got your horizontal padding, so you can adjust that. So if you start getting lots and lots of items, then you can narrow that. You can reduce the horizontal padding. Again, just highlight and delete to set back to the default that the template has applied. And the vertical padding. Now this is quite useful here, because you see if we do this, the line is sitting right on the bottom there. So if you want to reduce that, that's where you would do that. So we can reduce the vertical padding like so. We take that down to 15. Now we've got that a bit better. I actually prefer that, so I'll leave that like that. And advanced options, as I said, you can set margins, padding, various other little bits and pieces. CSS class, now that is the template has applied that, so you certainly don't want to delete that, because that is applying all of the CSS, the styling of the header template that you've applied. So if you get rid of that, then you'll lose all of the styling. But as you can see, although we've applied the styling from the template, you can still go in and customize that. Motion effects, there are various other options that you've got here. They're all fairly self-explanatory, and they're all pretty similar among many other widgets, so we won't go too much into the details. So that's our menu. Over here we've got our social icons, so we can click that, and here you can get rid of one. Nobody uses Google Plus anymore, and you can add them. And the way you add them is to click add like this, come down here to the icon library and search. So for something like Instagram, most photographers, we're going to have an Instagram account, and we can drag it into position. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, various other things like Flickr. We've got Flickr. We want to get rid of Twitter. 500 pics, for example. So you can, all of your social media icons can go up here like this, and what you do is you open it up and you put the link to your profile page on that particular social media website. So in my case, for example, simplest way is to navigate to your page, highlight, copy, paste it in. Link options, it's automatically, because it's social media, set to open in new window, which is the best option, so I would leave it, but if you don't want that, you can always untick it. Instagram, similar. Usually the page is the same. Again, just navigate to that page, come down here, paste it in, and so on. I won't do them all now. That's your social media links. Now again, we can come over here, we can change that if you want. You want to make them rounded, so now you'll see they're rounded. You want to make them square, now you see they're square when we hover over. Columns auto, that's more useful if you have lots and lots of them and you want to put them into 2 columns like this, 3 columns or whatever. So I typically leave it auto. Again, alignment, left, right, center. Styling, so your styling here, you've got custom color or official color. So in this case, of course, we've customized it, and I think it looks better like this because everything else is white. You can adjust the size, padding, spacing, various things like that. Icon hover options, so you can see here that when we hover over, it's set to change the primary color to black and the outer color to white, so you can change all that if you want. And the animation here, you can choose, as it's doing, to shrink. You've got other options here if you want to change all that. So everything is customizable. In most cases, you just need to go through and have a play. And finally over here, although it's inserted this text logo, so here you can write your own logo if you want to, or if you have a custom logo, you can delete this, come over here to site logo and drag that in, and that will automatically insert whatever you've set as your site logo in the theme. So that's nice and simple. If it's too big, you can always just adjust the size like so. Okay, and so again, you've got all the options here. You've got the opacity, so you can make it opaque if you want to. and so on. You can set the image size, caption, various things like that. Site URL, so typically your logo, when applied, will link to your homepage. So the idea is that when people are navigating through, they can very easily click your logo to go straight to your homepage, unless of course you want to change that, which in most cases you don't. So here is my header. So as I said, I also want to set how that header looks in the mobile. So in the mobile, that doesn't look very nice, does it? So what I can do, I can choose to reformat all of this. So I can make my logo smaller. Typically your columns like this, you can set the width in a percentage. So when I've got 3, I would typically set each one as 33% each. But again, this is too close to the edge. So if I click that, come over to advanced, and here I can set the margin. And if we do like this, it does all of them together. Or if we turn off that linking, then we can just simply come and I can set a margin from on the left side only. Now that's moved that more in. But this is all too big really, isn't it? So what I can do on the mobile, I can hide. If we go over to advanced and responsive, I can hide on mobile. Now what will happen is, now on the mobile, that won't be visible. But on the desktop, on the tablet, sorry, and the desktop, it will be visible. So that's really, really useful. So now what I can do, now I've hidden that, I can make this 100%, and I can make this 100%. I can come in here, select this, and now link this together, and now set my margins to centralize that. I can also come to style and make my logo a bit smaller, and now I've got a simpler header for the mobile. Same thing here, we can come in here, I can pad this all out a little bit, and there's a simple mobile header, and you can add more to it. You can add more columns and do whatever you want to do, but it's just as an example. Same thing on the tablet. Now if I think that looks too much, as you can see, I can, rather than, I can come over here, for example, I can centralize this if I want to, because it looks better on the mobile. And then I can come over to style, typography, and I can make it a bit smaller here. Make it say 11 or 12. I can also reduce this, say to 50%, make this 25%, and make this 25%. Now you see I've got more room for my social icons. That's still a bit too much. Again, I can come here and set the margins for that. And again, if I still think that's not enough space there, I can come over to here and set that breakpoint there. So now I've got a nice simple tablet header. Okay, so as I just showed you, also anything that has text in it, like the menu, we can come over here to style and to typography. Now again, it will insert the default font. If you don't want to use that, you can set another font, or if you switch it to default, that way it will use the default font that you have set in your theme. So if we save that now, and the way that we do that, again, we go to Site Settings, go up here to Typography, and here is where we set our default. We can set the default main text, so we can say, for example, Montserrat, Montserrat. There we go. And we can even set the size if we want to. Or you can just leave it like this as a default. So you could set, for example, 16 as the default size. Again, you can change all of this when you're working within the page. But if you set something as the default, then the default will be applied. And again, if you want to change your default font or size or anything, you can come in here and change it, and it will apply all the changes across the sites where you've got the default set. So again, it saves you a hell of a lot of time if you want to make changes. Down here you've got link defaults, and here you've got your H tag defaults. So if we come in here, for example, I've got already the EXO as my H1 tag set as a default, and again we can set the weight transform. We can do all that if you want to. The H2 default, again I can make that EXO. There we go. H3 EXO. H4 EXO. H5 EXO, and so on. EXO. There we go. Now you can set again colors if you want to. I typically don't, but again you can set all of those things here, and the same with the hover as well. You can set if you want the hover color to be the same across all pages, then you can do so. So we'll save that. So I typically have the header text in one font and then the main body text in another font. You typically don't want more than 2 fonts really on your website. You can if you want, but that's as a general rule, there should be one font for the header text and one font for the main body text. So that's how you set them. And again, you can come in here to style and change if you want to change the color, you want to change the typography. Here's what's important. By default it will be like this, but you can set the text all to be uppercase, all to be lowercase, capitalize, or just normal the way that you type it. So back in the menu here, if we go to styles and typography, now default is the default we've set in our site settings, but if you want to override that, then you can change that here. Same thing for the size. You can override the default size. When it's 0, it's set to default, otherwise you can override it. Same here with all the others. Weight transform gives you the option to make everything uppercase, everything lowercase, capitalize, or normal is how it's typed. I tend to, for menus, I like it to be uppercase. Other options are style, normal, oblique, italic, and there's decoration, which I never really use. It looks horrible. You want to underline, overline, and all sorts of things, but there are options there if you want. Line height for text gives you this option, so you can basically make the line heights like so. Letter spacing, we can, if we want to widen the space between the letters, we can do it that way. Again, just delete everything to clear to default. Same with word spacing. We can, there's no words here, they're just one words on their own, so you won't see a difference, but when you've got a paragraph of text, then you can adjust the space between the words there. So these are all the options you have, and all these rules apply for any other text when you've got body text, header text, and the rest of your pages, as we'll see in a future video. So once everything's ready, if you're happy with how your header looks, again, like I say, you can do that and you can preview like this. If everything's ready, then go ahead and click Publish. Add a condition. Now this is where you want to display your template. So in this case, because it's the header, you want to display it across the entire site. Otherwise, you've got other options down here in the pull down bar. You can also add a condition and exclude it. So if there's a particular page that you want to exclude it from, then you can do it here. So you can come down to singular here, and maybe you want to exclude it from one page. You can select pages, and then you can type in the page, say about, Here we go. And in this case I could exclude it from the About Me page if I want to. So that's how you can exclude it from a particular page. And you can do this as many times as you want, of course. So we'll delete that. We want the header to appear across the entire site. So we do that, save and close, and now it's published. So now you can see view on the live site. Now we can navigate. Here are all the pages, the basic pages that we've set up and started. And that's your header. And if I click this now, it will take me to, it will open in a new page or a new tab, and it will take me to my Facebook page. So that's the header. So now we want to create a footer. So the same thing, we come into the theme builder, over here, click this and go up here to add new to create a new footer. Same thing, it will open in the Elementor library straight to the footers, and you can choose from Elementor's templates here, or again come to the Envato elements if you have that installed, free blocks, and they also have a selection of footer templates. And again, I kind of like these here. So let's insert this one. Again, we've got our social media buttons here. Now one little trick you can do when you're doing the footer and you've got the header up there already is, first of all, let's save the draft. If you've got all your links up here already, then what you can do is come up here where it says edit header, click this, then go to your social icons here, right click and copy. Then come back down again to edit footer, come in here, right click and paste. Then you can get rid of the default one. Now you've pasted the same ones that you've got there, so it saves you a lot of time. Let's also, we can change this text. I always hate words like that, so you can just replace it to follow me as you're a photographer, you're an individual. Now you see here also, when we've pasted this in, we've also pasted this border bit. So if you don't want that, just simply again come in here, go to advanced, in this case border, and just get rid of it. Simple. So again, we can change this, contact me. Now remember, when you've used the template, then it will automatically have some fonts applied. So usually what I do, again, I'll go through and change everything to the default, or change it to whatever you want it to be, of course. So let's change all these to default. Again, when you've done something like this, you can right click, copy, then come across to here, right click, but in this case paste style, and that will paste the formatting into it. Paste style. There we go. So if you ever want to harmonize the formatting on something, that's one way to do it as well. Now here the logo, well, I'm going to get rid of that, and you can get rid of that and come up here and again just drag in your site logo if you want to, or in this case if you want to, if you've got another round logo, a different one you want to use, just drag in image, come here, navigate to the other one that you've got, or upload it if you want. There you go. Now I've inserted that. I usually put that to full so it looks good, and then come over here and I can adjust the size, make that 60%, so you can insert a logo there. And if you want to make it clickable, come to content, down here, link, custom URL, type in your home page. There you go. Now just like the logo at the top, that will link people to my home page. Navigation, again, come down here. Now it's done it here in an icon list, so you can get rid of that. And again, come up to your navigation menu and drag that in. And in this case, yeah, choose the footer menu that we created, make it a vertical, like that. And again, if you want to make the breakpoint mobile rather than tablet for here, come up to the style, see that we've got these nasty colors here, so let's make sure the typography is on default, transform it to uppercase here, and the text color, we can make it white, make the text a bit smaller if we want, make it 12 or 13 like it was there, and that's done. Again, just like with the main menu, you can come over here and also customize these sections here. So for the hover, for example, if we hover over it, the default color here is not what we want, so we can change that to white. So we can do all the customization just like we did above. Over here, the contact me that is inserted it into a simple text editor. When you go up to your widgets and come down here, here are your options. You've got these ones here are heading widgets, header widgets, and these ones here are simple text editor widgets. So if we click here, it opens this text box and we can adjust the text. So if you want to put your address and email and everything here in the text, you can. If you want to make your email clickable, you simply highlight it, come up to the insert link, and usually when it's an email it does it automatically. If not, you need to write it this way, mail to colon and then your email address. So if we do that, now it's made it clickable. But if you don't want to use this, you can always delete it and then choose another widget. Now you can have down here, for example, an icon list. You've got all these widgets down here to choose from, and we'll look more at those in future videos when we build the pages. But you could insert an icon list like this, and here pull the drop down and choose the icon on the left. So first of all, let's go into the style icons, make that white, and also the text, let's make that white, and now you can see the icons more clearly. So you can go into the icon library and choose a different icon. One little trick is to come down here and navigate to another template that has a section that you want to insert to save yourself a lot of time. So let's say this one has some icon lists here with some addresses and other things. So let's insert that template. Simply drag it up to your template that you're building and insert it. Then get rid of the old one and get rid of that template. Save as. Now we've got an icon list already prepared. We can come in and change that. So we can find, for example, something like this. For the phone number, just search phone, there we go. And the email, I usually search for envelope, there we go. Now we've changed those icons, come into style, icon, make that white, and the text, we can also clear that and make that white too. So just like we did with the header, we can adjust the size of each column. So we can make them equal if we want to, 25. We've got 4 of them, so 25, 25 and 25%. If you want to centralize all these things, you can do. Come down here, here. Oops. And again, shortcut, copy that, paste the style, and if you want to, for the column, add some padding either side, you can unlink it and left to right if you want. Or let's 0 that. Just do it for this widget. So if you want to move that text slightly more out into the middle, you can do. See how that looks. So just as a general idea, you can have a play around. If you want to adjust if this is too thick, again come into Edit section, come to the Advanced section and just change the padding here. So at the moment it's 80, we can make it 40 to make it narrower. Just like before, if you want to change the background color, you can make it the background that you set in your global settings or any other color you want. Now, as I said earlier, you can use the column section to space them evenly or not. If that logo is too small, you want to make it less, you can want to reduce it, for example, you can do to space them differently. They don't have to be evenly spaced, of course. So we could make that one 20, that one 20. We could give more space to the Contact Me section if you want to, and various things like that. Now, one thing you see here is that the underline is quite long because it's stretching full width. So one way around that, again, is to select the widget, go to the Advanced column, go to Padding, unlink, and just make adjustments to the left and right if you want to. Now you see that this is going off like this, so take it down, and now you can see that it's reduced the width of the underline there, and so that's a neat little trick. We can centralize the Contact Me section if you want to, and there you go. We can add other things in here as well. If you don't want to have a Contact Me section, I don't. The Contact Me section is ideal if you're a commercial photographer, portrait photographer, or offering photography services as such. Then you want people to be able to find you if you have business premises, for example, or a phone number and things like that. So the Contact Me section is very good for that. Now, one thing I should mention as well, the mail to, when we made that clickable, we can also make the phone number section clickable. And the way we do that is tell, colon, just like the mail one, and then put the phone number in all together. So, for example, you could say +44, because if people might call you internationally, for example, +44 794 225 663, for example. If that's my phone number, I will copy that, put that in here, like that. Now, not only can they read my phone number, if we save that, not only can they read my phone number, if they click on it, if they're on the desktop, if we view this here, if they're on the desktop, they'll need an application. So you've often got people that have got laptops, desktops, and they've got some telephone application on their desktop, so they can call you from their desktop. But in most cases, this is useful for people viewing your site on the mobile. So if we browse here on the mobile, they'll be able to click this and call you directly on your mobile. And I'll show you in a minute. We'll do that in the header too, because that's the first place. If you want people to call you, then you definitely want to have one of these in your header. So as I say, if you don't want a Contact Me section, there are all sorts of other options. If we go up to the widgets here, come down here, if you want to put a map in, you've got Google Maps, you can pull in a map. You've got all other options here, down here. If you want to put a link to your social media, if you want to put a Instagram feed in there, or all sorts of other things. Basically, all of these widgets are available, and you could put anything you want down here. Or you can keep the whole thing quite simple, of course, if you want to. Now, there are various ways that you can access your header and footer. You don't always have to go into the theme builder. Once you've got it set up, if you're viewing any of your web pages in the Elementor builder, or you're viewing the site like this, and if you're logged in and you've got your bar up here, whatever page you're on, if you go up to Elementor, you'll find that there's an option to click Elementor to open that particular page in the editor, or if you've got a header and a footer, then it gives you the options here. Now the footer's not made live yet, so it's not available there. So now we've got this. Let's make this live. We'll publish it, add a condition across the entire site. Now if we go here, it doesn't show it because I'm actually looking at the footer page itself. So if we click to our home page, for example, now if we go up here, you'll see we've got the option to main header, main footer. We can choose to open either of these in the editor or the page itself. So let's go and open the main header and go back up to our social icons here. And if you want to add, first of all, an email, then I suggest that you go in and use the envelope icon here. Well, you've got various other options. Here you can use this one, for example, with a white background, like that, simple one. And again, same to mail to info@ianmiddletonphotography.co.uk, and again that makes that clickable. And again, add an item, and this time search for phone. Oh, not recommended, all icons, phone, and you've got the phone icon here. Choose a phone icon, and again telephone, comma, paste in that number, paste in your phone number, and update. Now I've got the email and telephone icon there. Now you see it's running out of space here, so I can go here and I can just make that bigger. Simple. Okay, now we can make some adjustments here. If I want to make this 70, for example. Make this smaller if I want, 10, 20. I can play around with that. Or there's another thing I can do. If we go up to the main section, here you can see content width boxed. Now you can choose that to be full width if you want, and then you might want to put some padding either side. Or you can choose it to be boxed and you can set the width. So you can adjust the width here, like this. So you can make it, say, 1400. So when you expand it, it's wider or less. Or if it's like this, then it's set to the site default. And the way that you set your site defaults is by going up to settings, site settings, come down here to layout, and here you see the content width. You see that it's already by default set to this. So if you want to widen that, make that 1300, and you'll see that the footer and the header now have stretched because they are both set to defaults. Now we've got more space there, so set that to whatever you want. I typically set it to around 1300 or 1400 depending. And now we can go back. Now if we want to make that 20, 60 and 20. Now we've made everything nice and even. Now that logo's a bit too big, so we can go back into our logo and we can adjust the size of the logo. And there we go. Save that. And again, check here, everything looks okay. Now we've got the same problem again here. It's run out of space, so as we've only got the toggle button here, we can reduce that quite a bit. Make that 40, make this 30, make this 30, and now everything looks much better. And in the mobile, now we've got this hidden. So that also means that the phone is going to be hidden. Now the phone on the mobile is the one thing you definitely want to be there. So in the mobile version, we hid this. So now you've added your phone number. If you want to make that visible, of course you've got two options. You can unhide that. So we just go back to responsive and untick that. Now we're showing it. Now we're showing it. You want to change the layout, of course, to 100. And then you can show all the icons. Now you notice here we've got this dotted bit on the edge. Now that looks fine on the desktop, but it doesn't look fine here. So we can just, again, any changes we make here will only affect the mobile section. So that's a border that's basically been applied. So we go to the border section and just change that to none. So we've got rid of that. And if you want to pad that out a bit, you can do. Go to layout, padding, and make some adjustments. There we go, we've padded that out a little bit. So you could just simply put all of that back. But if you don't want all of the icons showing, if you just want to show the telephone number to make that stand out more so it's not lost, because it can be lost among all these, then we simply do the same thing. Let's just go back and hide that. Hide that there. Hide that, there we go. And what we can do is come down here, click this plus sign to select a new section here, make that background, the background one, the same as the other. Then we can come up here, highlight and copy, come down here, this is a quick shortcut, and then paste that into here. Now that will paste everything in that we've got so we keep it the same. So it's a quick way of doing it rather than redoing it, unless you want to do it manually. Social icons widget is down here amongst all the other widgets, just like the others. So you can do it that way if you want, or if I'm making everything the same, I tend to just use these shortcuts, copy and paste, to save yourself a lot of time. So now what we can do is come here and just get rid of all the others and just have the telephone number there. Make sure that's centralized. Now we don't want that showing on the desktop, so what we can do, as we've created a whole new section, you just want to hide, you ideally want to hide the whole section. So click to edit the section, and again we got the responsive option here. We can hide on the desktop, hide on the tablet. Now on the desktop it's not visible, sorry, on the tablet, on the desktop it's not visible, on our mobile it's visible. So there you go, update that. Now if we go back to our desktop, refresh our view, we can see that that's not visible, it's up there. So there you go, I think that's about enough for part 4. So I hope you've enjoyed this, I hope you found it useful as always, and if you did, please give this video a like, please subscribe if you're new to the channel, and check out the previous videos and all my other videos too. Okay, and I'll see you in part 5. Thanks very much for watching, bye bye.